Alright, here we are for Lesson 13, Checking for Identical Triangles, Part 1. So this is the first lesson in a two-lesson topic of checking for identical triangles. The only information or the only tool you need is really just paper and pencil. So for the opening exercise, complete the opening exercise on your lesson worksheet. Continue the video when you are finished. Alright, you should be done with the opening exercise. So list all the conditions that determine unique triangles. You're going to need this for the rest of the lesson, so it's important that you have these written down. Make sure you have all 6 of them written down, because this kind of summarizes what we've done over the last several lessons. And then to answer the question, how are the terms identical and unique related? Well, when drawing a triangle under a given condition, the triangle will either be identical or non-identical to the original triangle. If only one triangle can be drawn under the condition, we say the condition determines a unique triangle. A triangle drawn under a condition that is known to determine a unique triangle will be identical to the original triangle. Alright, for example 1, each of the following problems gives 2 triangles. State whether the triangles are identical, not or not necessarily identical. If the triangles are identical, give the triangle conditions that explain why, and write the triangle correspondence that matches the sides and angles. If the triangles are not identical, explain why. If it is not possible to definitively determine whether the triangles are identical, write the triangles are not necessarily identical and explain your reasoning. So let's start with an example. We have these 2 shapes, or 2 triangles, ABC and XYZ. So how are they related to each other? Well, the triangles are identical by the 2 angles and the included side condition. So we are given that C corresponds with Z and A corresponds with Y, and that the line segment AC corresponds with YZ. So in order to label our triangles correctly, the correspondence is triangle ABC corresponds with YXZ. Notice that it seems like it's out of order, but again, the way we identify triangles has to be in the order of corresponding angles. So if A corresponds to Y, then that means in our description, Y has to come first. B corresponds to X, which is the non-marked angle, and C corresponds to Z. So C is to Z. So that's why the order is different. But this matches 2 pairs of angles and 1 pair of equal sides, which should be one of the conditions on your list. Since both triangles have parts under the condition of the same measurement, the triangles must be identical. We proved that in the previous lessons. So let's go ahead and try that same methodology with exercises 1 through 3. So using the same level of precision, that means answer the question the same way as we did in exercise 1. Go ahead and try it with exercises 1 through 3 and check your answers by continuing the video. Alright, you should be done with exercises 1 through 3. So for exercise 1, these 2 triangles are identical because of the 2 sides and included angle condition. Notice that we have 2 sides, a side, and then an included angle, and then another side. And by order of the sides and the angles, we would start with D is corresponding to G. So the correspondence is DEF corresponds to GIH. And again, it matches the 2 sides and included angle, and because that's one of our conditions for a unique triangle, then these triangles must be identical. Alright, for number 2, the triangles are not necessarily identical. We can match A to D, C to F, and then we have 2 sides that are not part of the conditions. AB is not part of the same condition as DF. So, although 2 angles in each triangle match, the marked sides do not correspond. So in triangle ABC, the marked side is not between the marked angles, therefore, as they are in DEF, So these are not necessarily identical triangles, even though, again, it doesn't matter how they're drawn, it matters how they are marked. And for the third one, the triangles are identical by the three sides condition. Even though all these sides do not look like they match, one looks like it matches with the 3 tick marks, but again, it has nothing to do with the drawing, it has everything to do with the correspondence. Since we have a condition of 3 sides, if we have 3 corresponding sides, then we have unique triangles which can be identical. Then our correspondence order is ABC corresponds to YZX. So in this case, AB corresponds to YZ. Even though it looks like they're not drawn the same, the fact that they are marked tells us that it is meant to be the same. And then our 2 tick marks match up with our 2 tick marks here, and the 3 tick marks match up with the 3 tick marks here. All right, example 2. In this example and the exercises that follow, we're going to be doing the same thing. This time we're going to draw the triangles given the information, and you're going to mark the triangles with the given information. If the triangles are identical, give the triangle correspondence and explain our reasoning. So our first set is, or example is, AB is equal to XZ. We have AC, line segment AC, is equal to XY, and we have that angle A is equal to angle X. Now, even though we're given 2 sides and an angle, we don't know if they're included yet until we draw it. So let's go ahead and describe how we would draw this. So here we are. I've go ahead and transferred the information to our piece of paper. Now, even though I'm using a straight edge, I really don't need to. It says to draw this freehand, but I do like straight lines, but I am not going to measure these. I'm just using this to make straight lines. So AB, let's just make this simple. I'm just going to draw a line, and I'm going to mark it AB. Well, this line corresponds with another line that is, again, it doesn't have to be drawn the same length, and I'm not going to measure it. I'm just going to draw. But it is going to correspond with a line that is marked XZ. And since these two are going to be considered the same, we're going to mark them with our first tick mark. Now, our other piece of information, AC, meaning that we start with angle A, we'll just go up and draw a line to make an angle. And we'll do the same thing because XY means that we have to have a line segment from X. So if this is C and this would be Y. All right, so I know that based on the information given that this line segment is the same as this line segment. However, we mark it 2 tick marks because we're not told that all of these are the same length. So we can't mark them as a single tick mark. We have to mark them as double because it is a different length. Now we're also given that angle A is the same as angle X. So even though I didn't measure this, by the fact that we're told that these are the same, we will mark these as single arc marks to show that they are congruent. Well, then that leaves us with drawing the last part of our triangle, which is connecting Y to Z. But based on the fact that we have 2 sides and an included angle, that is one of our conditions for unique triangles. So that means that these triangles have to be identical. And you can go ahead and finish up. These are going to be different side lengths also. So we can just go ahead and mark those as a different side length. So let's go back to this and check it. Now again, everybody's triangles can look different, but it's the order that is important. So if you notice, they drew the same thing. AB is the same as XY. AB is the same as XY, and AB is the same as XZ. Notice that the one tick mark, even though it doesn't look like they'd be the same, we have been told that AB is the same as XZ. And AC is the same as XY. And they have an included angle that are equal A and X. Therefore, like we mentioned before, this is the two sides and included angle condition. And so our correspondence in order would be ABC. ABC corresponds with X, Z, Y, because we have to go in order of the included sides. So since both triangles have parts under the same condition of the measurement, these triangles must be identical. All right, go ahead and do the same thing for exercises 4 through 6. Again, your triangles are going to look different than the triangles that are given in the answer key, but it's the marking that is important and the order that you identify both triangles. All right, so you should be done with exercises 4 through 6. Let's go ahead and check it. So for exercise 4, angle A is equal to angle Z, angle B is equal to angle Y, and line segment AB is equal to YZ. So you should have drawn something that looks, again, doesn't have to look similar to this, but our condition is that we have two sides and two angles, and an included side. Well, since that's one of our conditions, and this has to be congruent or corresponding triangles, and this is how we would draw it. And the order that we would describe this is ABC corresponds with ZYX. All right, and again, as long as you tick your arc marks, A should be the same as Z, B should be the same as Y, and AB should be the same as YZ. For number 5, these triangles are identical by two angles and the side opposite the given angle. So we have two angles, A to Z, B to Y, and then CB, or BC, is to XY. Well, if you check our list of conditions, then that means we have a unique or equal or identical triangles, and they are unique triangles. So therefore, these are our order would be ABC corresponds with ZYX. For our last one, we are given two angles and an opposite side. That is not one of our conditions for unique triangles, so therefore these are not necessarily identical. A is to Z, B is to Y, and BC is to XZ, but that's not one of our conditions. So these are identical or not necessarily identical, and our correspondence isn't the same. So we would just say ABC would be the same as XYZ, but because they're not necessarily identical, we don't have to worry about the order that we list the angles. All right, so to wrap up, the measurement and arrangement and correspondence parts in each triangle plays a role in determining whether two triangles are identical. All right, we'll see you in class.